Welcome back to Casual Retro Gamer. This week we are continuing our look into the Minstrel 286 workstation from HM Systems. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll stick a link to it in the description below. In summary though, last time we powered this machine up, but were greeted by a password locking out the system. I don't seem to be able to remove this, but I have been able to reset it. And I've added this wee battery pack to help store those settings. Also, with the help of some viewers last time, I've been able to get the hard drive set up in the BIOS, so we can now get the machine booted. And I've been able to figure out a couple of the options on the system board. So let's take a look. We are going to tidy up this battery pack in a minute, but first just let me show you a couple of things that I've discovered about this little machine. Since the last video, I've had this front section off here just for cleaning, and I removed the board that sits in here behind these LEDs, only to discover that where reset is here, there's nothing on the board. So it looks like there should be an LED here, but there's nothing happening in behind it. Also on that wee board that's in here, it shows that there must have been variants of this system at one point, because there's options on it there for incorporating a speaker, a key lock, and what appears to be another disc LED. In an attempt to get rid of that password, I thought I'd have a play with these dip switches here, because I thought, given their proximity to the BIOS, maybe they're related to that. But no, they actually appear to be more related to the video side of things. Now, that said, the first switch here doesn't seem to do anything, but the next two, numbers 2 and 3, they put the display on my monitor at a range. So I'm wondering, is it possibly enabling like a 15 kilohertz video signal? Or is it maybe even going to CGA and EGA? I'm not sure if this monitor supports those. The fourth switch along here puts the display into a 4D column mode. 5, 6 and 7 again don't seem to do very much. And 8 would appear to disable the onboard VGA, as when we turn that on, the system gives us a fault on startup of 1 long beep followed by 3 short beeps. This port then on the back of the machine that I wasn't sure last time what it's for, I'm starting to think might actually be a mouse port. This type of 9-pin mini DIN was used on the Acorn Archimedes, but it's also what's known as a Microsoft in port. I've never heard of that before, but I did find this article here referring to the Microsoft in port used for a mouse, and there's a picture of the connector that's identical to what we have here. So that's you more or less up to date with where we are with this wee system. I want to get this battery pack sorted out. We have a little diode in here, so we need to make this off properly within the cable. And then we're going to get into the meat of this video. We're going to put a network card in here so we can back up the contents of this hard drive. And if we've got time, we'll stick a sound card in here too and see if we can't run a couple of games. Our battery pack then. I have 3 AA batteries in here. That's given us our 4.5 volts, same as the old battery that came out of it. But these batteries are not rechargeable, and that's why we have this diode in here. You can think of this as like a non-return valve, but for electricity. Electric flows that direction, cannot flow that way. So in essence, all that does is stop the computer from trying to charge these batteries. That stops these batteries overheating and trying to explode. So that's us ready to put this in. Unfortunately, I don't actually have any Velcro. I will get some though, so we can reattach it back in here the way it was originally. I also didn't have any heat shrink big enough to cover the diode, but I don't think that really matters. We'll just run the heat shrink up to the sides of it. And I suppose at least like this, it lets us see easily that there is a diode on that wire. The positive connects off on that side. Both of these are ground. I'll just connect this one to the terminal on the end. Doesn't really matter. Right, that's our battery done. I think we should now try and get this network card in so that we can back up the contents of the hard drive to our main PC. So the network card we're going to be installing today is the MSDOS Ether 16 LAN card. Getting DOS drivers for this were tricky enough, so I'll put a link to them in the description below. I just wonder actually, I was going to put it in that top slot, but considering that I'm also going to put a sound card in here, maybe the sound card would be better in that top slot. Right, that's everything hooked up, ready to go. And we have our network cable already attached. We're going to be using MTCP for this. So I have copied just a couple of the relevant files across onto this disk, along with the packet driver we need for this wee network card. Right, the first thing we need to do is run this ether.com, that's the driver, and we need to give it an address 0x60. This node address here, this is your MAC address for the network card. So what you'll need to do if you're trying to set this up for yourself is log on to your router and assign that node address or MAC address to a fixed IP address on your network. You'll then need to edit the MTCP sample config. I already have this done, but I'll just show you quickly. You ignore the vast majority of this in here. Just this section here, you can put your nickname, username, and name. We're going to be using the FTP server that's included as a part of MTCP to back up the hard drive in this wee machine. That line there will be commented out. All you need to do is delete that hash. And then at the very bottom here, you don't really have to do this, but I just like to do it anyway. IP address, netmask, and gateway. That's the IP address I have assigned to this machine in my router, 192.168.2.101. So if we then run DHCP, you can see that it tells us we need to set that MTCP configuration file. So let's do that. This time then, when we run DHCP, that should put this wee machine on my network. And there we are. Good news everyone. IP address 192.168.2.101. Let's just see if we can ping the router. That's working perfectly. Right, for our FTP server then, that we'll use as a means of backing up this machine, you need a text file called FTP pass. And then there, all you need is this one line. So that's username, password, then you have to put those 3 words in. So none in brackets, any in brackets, and just all. And we can run FTP server. That's that working. So then over on our main machine, I should be able to connect. And that's us. I have access to the drives. I even have access to the floppy drive since I left that disk in there. That's the C drive of that wee machine. I'm going to do a full backup of all of this onto the hard drive of this thing. So then we can wipe what's on here at the minute, and I think we'll do a nice fresh install of MS-DOS 6.22. So just before we do jump in and wipe that hard drive, isn't it just as well I back this up? Because on the C drive here, in this little folder called MAT of all things, this is some utilities bespoke to the HM Systems Minstrel. We have an option here for low speed and high speed, so that would seem to set the system speed. In fact, here's a readme file. So high speed changes processor speed to full, low speed changes it to half. BIOS.com displays BIOS revision. Bus 10 speeds up the expansion bus, intended to be used where all expansion cards installed can run at 10 MHz. Blazingly fast, eh? Set M3 cures problems with monochrome monitors. It doesn't really apply to us. Cures problems with some board revisions and himem.sys. Documentation for that, maybe take a look at that in a minute. Neat EMM, expanded memory driver for onboard RAM expansion. And again a text file, so we'll maybe take a look for that. And then mouse drivers. So where's that memory expansion thing? That sounded interesting. The file himem.sys, blah blah blah, memory manager for Minstrel workstations. Should be used when applications need expanded memory to operate. Should not be used with applications which need extended memory. Before installing himem.sys, you must install the memory expansion board. Plug the board into the corresponding connectors on the MAT processor board. Oh, so that's why this folder is called MAT. Then replace the cover, turn on machine again. So I wonder, on that motherboard, those wee headers that I guessed would maybe be for a memory expansion, I wonder, is that exactly what that is for then? Well, I suppose we'll never really know, but interesting nonetheless. This other one then, A20 fix. This file is an installable patch which cures a problem encountered with some MAT processor cards and himem.sys on Minstrel workstations. Okay, well, we'll keep that in mind anyway. Just shows you though, definitely worth backing up the contents of this drive. Total of the hard drive amounted to about 45 megabytes. And yeah, that took, what, about half an hour to copy across. Not exactly fast. Nothing of really any interest on the D drive, but backed it up anyway. Time to install MS-DOS 6.22. And yes, this is my backup copy. Looking good so far. That's MS-DOS 6.22 installed. I have also reinstalled our network drivers and just created a little batch file. All I have to do is type net. That gets us up and running. Then likewise just type FTP and that starts our wee server. Let's get the sound card installed. This is the sound card we're going to be using, the ESS audio drive ES1868F. This is the same card we put into the Olivetti. Well, not the exact same card, just another one. You know what I mean. Okay, are we going to get sound? I have stuck a couple of games on this hard drive here. This is probably the first game this wee machine has ever run. How about a bit of Monkey Island? Oh yes, it's working. We'll try a bit of Wolfenstein 3D. Can this old thing run Wolfenstein 3D? Yeah. That would be a resounding no. At least the sound works though. Hey, trippy. A bit of Commander Keen. Again, are we getting graphical issues? Almost looks as if it's trying to run with EGA graphics rather than VGA. But Monkey Island's a VGA game, isn't it? That was working okay. How about a bit of Monkey Island 2? Very good. The game seems to be running really well. Which actually makes me think, how would our 20 MHz 286 benchmark against our 20 MHz 386 SX Olivetti? So I have stuck two benchmarks on here. We have the 3D bench, that's the VGA bench, and then LM60. Let's start with 3D bench here. So this VGA system has a Superscape benchmark of 5. The Olivetti scored 6.7 or 6.8, I think, from memory. What about LM60? So this computer performs like a 27 MHz AT, and our video is 720, what's that, characters per millisecond? How does that compare to the Olivetti? Let's find out. Well, that's interesting. This computer performs like a 28 megahertz AT. Go back to the 286, 27 megahertz. Very little difference in them in terms of CPU performance. But video, this is the 286, 720. Check that out, 3000. Over 3 times faster on the video side of things. 3D Mark. What's the odds of that running? So just on the Olivetti, for the sake of completeness, let's just let this run through quickly. Yeah, 6.8, quite a bit faster, especially when you see the animation play through. Okay, that's enough Olivetti. Well, that is pretty much it for our HM Systems 286 Minstrel. Well, there we have it. Our little 286 workstation is finished. Well, finished for now anyway. We do have that spare ISA slot in there, so maybe I could look at adding a memory expansion at some point. I would have liked to have got rid of this, but we've changed that password now to just password. That should be easy enough to remember, and our new batteries in there should help retain those settings. We've got our network card, we've got our FTP, and we've got our sound card. So I'm pretty pleased with how this wee system turned out. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a big thumbs up, as it does really help the channel. I'd also just like to take this opportunity to welcome all the new subscribers to the channel. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. There's plenty more yet to come. But for now, I think I'll go and enjoy some Monkey Island 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.